Welcome to the online Hero Talk series. It's hosted by Hero House in Yerevan, Armenia, a tech entrepreneurial hub that initiates a very rich range of activities and programs that nurtures and supports tech entrepreneurship culture and also best practices. My name is Jacqueline Karaaslanian, and I'm the CEO and the co-founder of Learning Architects. That is an emerging solution agency, and that helps individuals and companies to go from concept to action. Today, I have really the great pleasure of being the moderator for the Hero Talk that is highlighting the key role of a visionary leadership and how to understand the process of the personal brand of a CEO that becomes also its company's brand ambassador. So first, I would like to introduce our exceptional panelists, and then we'll go to the questions and 3 rounds of questions. And at the end, we will have a chance to hear from all of you, the audience, and the questions you may want to address to our panelists. So I will start with Ron Weissman. He's the chairman of the software industry group at Band of Angels, and also a member of the board of the Association for Angel Band. He's the group at Band of Angels is investing in and mentoring seed stage startups since 1994. They invest in high-tech, AI, and life science companies. Ron has been advising in business and angel investing best practices for corporate governance, VC, startups, and governments for Armenia, Georgia, Italy, Chile, Australia, New Zealand, and of course, all over the United States. Ron has also worked as a direct report to Steve Jobs at Next, where he managed the European and corporate marketing. He will share some insights on how some entrepreneurial values are exportable and can move seamlessly from one country to the next and from one culture to the other. So our next panelist is Raf Yirikian. He's general manager of Viva-MTS. And he led the company to be first and really leading in the fields of telecommunications. He and his team seeded a new era of digital transformation and innovation in the country. Viva-MTS continuously supports and empowers so many organizations, from public to private, and the entrepreneurship culture, of course, that is needed so much for the expansion and economical prosperity. Viva-MTS also has a very strong corporate social responsibility program that is truly inspiring. They set an example on how to support the ecosystem of ethically oriented practices and projects that contributes to the well-being and the development of communities and our society. And our third panelist is Marie-Lou Papazian. Hello, Marie-Lou. She is the CEO at TUMO, Center for Creative Technologies, and at the head of the fundraising activities and franchising programming. TUMO offers free educational experience that is at the intersection of technology and design for teens from age 12 to 18. TUMO is instrumental in awakening technology and creative skills in the youth all over Armenia. And recently, TUMO has been a very strong brand for the country, also for Armenia, because it's exporting its know-how to other countries. And that is a very key role also in taking us all in the future from very young age on. And TUMO is inviting a lot of countries to invest in youth and showing how you can make a difference when you invest in human capital. So as you can see, our three panelists are really amazing, each in their own fields and very complementary fields. So I have now my first question that I would like each of you to address, please. And I would like this question to be in the context on how to understand your individual values, how they align with the company's value, and create these strong and lasting brand companies. And the brand is a promise. It's also the identity of the company. And it also needs to be very authentic if we want it to be strong and lasting. So I would like to ask each of you to tell us, what are the three key values that guide your life and your professional practice? And if you could please give some very concrete examples on how this translates in reality. So I would like to start with Ralph. Please.
Yes, sure. Thank you for the introduction, and let me hit straight to the topic. Basically, there are so much of guidelines, if I could say, but the basic three or the main three are, the first one is commitment. It's about promise. When you commit or when you promise, you have to deliver. And it's related to credibility. The second one is about being of open-mindedness. I mean, you shouldn't live in the past. What you have done, but life keeps on changing, and accordingly, you need to adapt and to change accordingly. And the third one, to me, it's the most important. It's a value, it's a human value, and it's called respect. And it's one of our main core values on which the company has been built, or one of the main pillars on which we've built the company. And respect, it's not only an individual to an individual, it's colleagues to each other, towards the community, towards stakeholders, towards suppliers, towards everyone. Based on those, I mean, my life was based on those, if I could say. It started with me when I was a kid, when I was studying at school, listening to my parents, watching the community around, and this got built into the character inside. And in the professional life, it passed from the personal level to the professional level. It managed to spread among the company and among the practices we do at the company. And I can give lots of examples. For example, with respect to commitment, when you commit on something before the staff, or when you commit on something before the community, you better deliver. If you need to maintain the credibility, and if you want, for example, on the level of staff, to listen and to follow. Credibility is very important here. That's why commitment is very, very essential to keep and maintain. And with respect to open-mindedness, I mean, technology is always evolving. Innovation is there. And you can't say that I'm a person who believes only in 2G or 3G. But today we're living the 4G. This is quite a development, and accordingly, if we speak about innovation and we lead the digital transformation, because we are no more simply, we are now digital services providers, so we are transforming, and you need to be flexible in the way you think, in the way you do business, in the practices, in the business processes. And the most important, like I've mentioned a while ago, respect. You need to practice respect, and you need to lead by example. And in our company, whether you're a CEO or you're a floor clerk, you are of the same level as a human being. You're equal. There's no differentiation, and this doesn't give the CEO the right to feel better or to show off. And when you speak about respect, you need also to practice humility, humbleness, to be down to earth, and to show this, and to teach this, and to mentor this to your team for them to learn about it on the go. And you do the same at home because you have got responsibility towards your children when they're growing. They need also to see this and to realize this and to learn about this. I believe I'll restrict myself to this much to save some time.
Thank you. This is a very thorough response. So if I summarize, Raf, it would be the three values, guiding values would be commitment, agility to adapt to the future, and the human aspect of respect being at the core of everything that you do, with whether it's with your family or at work with your professional surroundings. Now I would like to turn to Ron and ask you to tell us about your three guiding values at home and at work.
Jacqueline, thank you very much. By the way, it's a real pleasure to be electronically back in Yerevan,
Yeah.
one of my favorite cities. I've had the pleasure of watching the Armenian tech community mature the past 5 or 6 years. So I am honored to be back, and I'm thrilled with the progress that Armenia has been making. My personal value, my overriding values are the value of free inquiry, and connected to that, my view that entrepreneurship is one of the most powerful ways of really advancing society's well-being. I used to be a professor of European history the first 15 years of my life, and I switched from academia to the startup world because it better aligned with those values of free inquiry and the power to be creative and innovative. So, but remember, I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm an investor. So to be really useful today, I want to talk about the values I look for in CEOs beyond the obvious ones of things like integrity and intelligence. So the first two values I'm going to talk about were really beaten into me by Steve. The third is what I call the anti-Steve. Does the CEO strive for excellence? Does the CEO know what true excellence is? Does the CEO worry too much about placating sacred cows? Does the CEO promote clean sheet thinking? Now, to be truly successful, particularly in crowded markets, you have to be demonstrably 10 times better in the customer's eyes. So there's no excuse for crappy, sloppy design. And for startup entrepreneurs, there's no excuse for failing to measure yourself honestly against your real competitors. Doing all these things makes achieving excellence hard. Second thing is avoiding credentialism. Don't be overly impressed when you hire with credentials, for example, where people went to college or who has an MBA. Understand what they're capable of doing rather than where they sat in a chair or where they got their college degree. One brief story, at a picnic at Next, there was a juggler who amazed Steve, and Steve said, "Can you juggle?" And he did. Steve said, "Come by my office next week." This guy, I don't even know if he went to college or not, but he was part of a circus troupe called the Flying Karamazov Brothers. He met Steve, and Steve said, "You have a gift for teaching, don't you?" And so he put this guy, Randy Nelson, in charge of all of our developer programs, how to train developers. And where is Randy Nelson today? Randy Nelson is the head of Pixar University. He trains the world's best animators how to tell stories. And this is a guy who had no credentials, came out of nowhere, and turned to be one of the most creative, gifted people I've ever worked with. I want to focus my last comments on the importance of humility. And that's the anti-Steve. My worst CEOs were dazzling, charismatic rock stars. They were infatuated with their own ideas. They didn't listen to customers. They were idealistic in all the wrong ways, and they were absolutely rigid. My two best CEOs were humble, didn't believe they were smarter than their customers. They listened well, and they pivoted sometimes many times to get the product market fit right. My two favorite companies, Composite Software and Taulia, are both exemplars of that. I think it's also important that investors be humble too. Now, I spent almost 20 years as a VC, and my venture firm did a study comparing the thickness of our deal memorandums with our outcomes, and they were inversely correlated. The thicker the document, the worse the eventual returns. Why? Because we thought we knew more than we did. In early stage companies, I'm going to be very controversial here, neither management nor investors knows anything, particularly about markets. We lie to ourselves when we think we have it all figured out during Series C. That is, in my experience with 60 startups, that's utter rubbish. All we can know is management's flexibility, humility, willingness to learn, willingness to experiment. Our job as investors is to give management the time and the resources to experiment after we invest so they eventually get it right, and let the business emerge via trial and error. So I really put a great pressure of privileging on humility, willingness to learn, willingness to experiment, willingness to realize at the point in which you give us your seed stage business plan, it could all be wrong. But we want to work together on that journey to let the business emerge. And that can't happen unless you're creative, humble, willing to start with a clean sheet of paper, killing sacred cows, and just willing to listen to markets.
All right. So if I was to summarize, and forgive me if I missed something because I was disconnected by internet for just a couple of seconds. The three guiding values would be free inquiry. It would be avoiding credentialism and focusing on talents, developing strong talents, and being and having humility. And humility.
It's less than talent. It's just avoiding putting people in buckets and prejudging them based on where they went to college or
suspending judgment. Okay. Thank you very much, Ron. So now I turn to Marie-Lou. Marie-Lou, please share with us your three guiding values.
It's difficult to give three new ones after everything we listened. I'm going to try to say things that
it could repeat because that's important too. You know, it's
yes.
If it's at the core of what you do.
That has been said actually is very true, and it resonates with me too. But something that throughout the years I have worked, especially at TUMO, is I don't know how to express it, but loving what you're doing and believing in what you're doing. That has given me a lot of energy, and I have been very I had the chance to get a job that was ideal for what I really love to do, is giving the people the opportunity to excel and guiding their road to reach to other areas that they would have never maybe imagined or had the vision for that. And the other thing that I think it's very important is pushing yourself first and then everybody around you to reach their maximum potential, and not expecting the same thing from everyone, but the ability to push and to reach, or to at least want to reach your maximum potential. And every time you reach you think you reached your maximum potential or did your maximum, like taking that goal further away from yourself and saying, now there is a new challenge and you can do more than that. You thought that you reached your potential, but it's not enough. You can continue. And the third thing that both Pegor and I have been very consistently, directly and indirectly following is quality and excellence in everything we have been doing, and and asking everybody around us not to do something that could be less quality and less than what others are expecting from us. And that has been a big challenge. And I think we have been able to transfer that. Sometimes it's dangerous because then everybody expects more and more quality, and you never know what to do and how to do it. But that the challenge is really nice when it's like jumping into a swimming pool when you don't know how to swim, and that courage to do it, and then thinking about how you're going to continue and what you're supposed to do, figure it out there and continue. So those were really the forces that were driving me throughout my career, from Lebanon to US to Europe then, and finally for the past 15 years in Armenia.
And can you give us a couple of examples on how it also translates in actions in TUMO?
Yes. For example, quality and excellence, from a very simple one. When we were building TUMO, a lot of construction people kept asking us, "Are you crazy? Like, just build it. It's a school for kids. It doesn't matter. Why are you trying so many samples? Why are you bringing so many architects? Why are you so confused? Just do. It doesn't matter." And we told them, we're building a space and we're building a content. And if we don't give the best example in our educational content, then the kids will not respect that and will think that, the first role model is us, from the space to the content to how you think about them, what you have prepared for them, how you respect them, and then ask them to do their best. But the first thing was giving them the quality and the excellence in as much as we can in the environment we were creating and including content. Loving, everybody tells me you have a lot of energy, and it's not the energy, it's I love what I do. And I always say I am the most fortunate one to have this job, not Armenia having me, but me having them. I don't know how to thank everyone for having this job and being able to do what I love. And I will never be able to thank enough, and do not want to be thanked, because above and beyond everything, the satisfaction I feel is so big that I think it's the most important thing, and it really gives me the love and the belief of what I'm doing, and pushing myself for the maximum potential. Every time we embark in a new project, it's bigger and bigger, and we start, and it starts small, and then it becomes much bigger than we envisioned. So that has been something that I keep telling everybody around me with my staff. You have to want to push to the maximum, not put everyone, like Ron said, in the same bucket. Everyone has a different potential, and you have to bring out the potential, create the environment, and that's what we do at TUMO, is giving an environment for the students that this is not temporary. It is here for you. It is built for you, and you should not be afraid to try to even reject few things or change your path, but try to not be afraid of trying things and going into your maximum. and with our kids also, we have been doing this in our personal lives. A lot of people would say, why would they apply to the best schools in the US? Why not?
Why not?
Maybe, why not? You never know. And Vahakan, one day, our son told me that he learned from me to believe in the impossible and to try all the way, even when there is no hope. At least at the end, you feel that you have tried your maximum and you haven't left anything out, and tried to reach your maximum potential. And I think I was able to transfer that part to my kids too, beside TUMO.
This is wonderful, and it's true that love is also very viral, and it creates such a strong energy. So if I summarize your guiding values, it would be love and believe in the impossible.
Yes.
Push yourself to the maximum of the present potential, because as you arrive, you realize there's even another frontier.
Right.
Strive for quality. In describing that, I think you gave a wonderful value, which is courage. And never be afraid.
Yeah.
And all of you have, just described such a nice, rich set of leading by example and believing in what you do, and also serving a wider and richer community, and as wide as possible all the time. So this is, I think, very inspiring for all of us, and probably even more for young entrepreneurs, because the path is complex, and there might be moments of, disbelief, but then you have to find this courage in yourself and strength. Yes. So looking up at good examples, it's a wonderful way of being back on track. And earlier we talked about brand as a promise. So my second question to you is to go a bit more granular and ask each of you, what is, especially in complex moments and difficulties, what is the promise you give to yourself and the promise you give to your company to lead these incredible enterprises forward? So I'll go back in a circle with starting with Ralph, please.
Actually, this promise has been not given, has been made, if I could say, from day one, and it keeps repeating every day. And for example, I would like to mention our purpose statement, if I could say, which guides us mentally, emotionally, and it's deep inside us, that is like a catalyst for us to continue striving to improving not only telecom quality and services, but to go beyond that. And what's that statement? It simply says we believe in leading digital innovation to improve the lives of millions of people. But it doesn't end here. It continues to say, always loyal to the customers and forever loyal to the country. And this means it's not that we do business to please the shareholders. Our business has moral and social responsibility towards the community and towards the country. And this is why we've chosen from the beginning to be pioneers and leading the idea of social responsibility or corporate social responsibility, and to try with our practices to teach companies in the economy to follow our footsteps. And the notion and the idea here is very, very simple. I work in my country, I work for the shareholders, but at the same time, I need to do whatever I can to make a better place for my compatriots, for my fellow citizens, who are at the same time our subscribers. But on the other hand, if I have, as a company, the opportunity or the possibility to make our country a better place, to invest in a better tomorrow, to build for a better tomorrow, why not use the potentials and the possibilities we have? And many people think that it's an easy ride. I would say no. It's a very tough ride because we go through lots of difficulties every year in our budgeting process to convince the representatives of the shareholders that we need to have a certain budget for us to direct those funds, to do social investments, to improve in the communities, because that's what we believe in. That's what we believed in from the first place, from the first day. And that's what we try to do every day when we practice business. And it's not only social responsibility towards the external, which means outside the company, but also the teaching, the guiding, the lecturing, the showing by example is an internal social responsibility. The way we prepare our colleagues or our staff, so tomorrow when they are on their own, or when they are building their own businesses, or when they are in certain positions, if I could say, in the system, they would think the same. It's not about the personal ego. It's about the benefit of all. It's about inclusiveness, not about exclusiveness. So we are part of a value chain. Whatever we do it, yes, for the shareholders, but we do it for all stakeholders, including people in the community, the citizens in the community, because we believe in better tomorrow. And this better tomorrow, to be achieved, we need to be part in investing in building it. And that's a promise we made, and we keep reminding ourselves about it every day when we do business in the company.
Can you give us a concrete example that is dear to your heart?
The challenge we face every year, for example, now we are undergoing the budgeting process for next year. And again, when it comes to requesting funds to be budgeted in the budget, the controllers in the head office, they start saying that, no, this is an additional expense. This is money going out of the pocket of the shareholders. You shouldn't be wasting that. But we tell them, we need to speak to them business language. Otherwise, they won't understand. And we tell them, this budget helps protect the brand. And when your brand is protected, you can preserve the business. And when the business is preserved, you can maintain market share. And when the market share is maintained, you can maintain your profits and your dividends. But in reality, what we mean is we are part of the community. So we need to look after the community, and we need to take care of this community. And this is what we have been doing for 15 years. And we wish and we hope that other companies follow our footsteps to create some sort of a chain reaction, because the government alone cannot do, and the public sector alone cannot do. There should be a partnership to serve the community better between the public sector and the private sector. And the private sector can work alone to implement some project, but it's always preferable to be a partnership. But eventually, it's all geared towards building, improving, let's say, the community and building a better tomorrow.
This is very inspiring. And if I was to summarize, let's say, some of the core points in what you said, it would be forever loyal to your customers and all stakeholders and to the country.
Forever loyal to the country.
Yes.
Loyal to the customers, but forever loyal to the country, because it has a deeper meaning.
Okay. And also spreading the culture of stewardship for a larger cause than ourselves, having it not only towards the outside world, but also inside. And it's a constant struggle to keep these values alive, and also make the shareholders understand how it's important for the brand of the value to show that it's really active and actively growing the company, but also growing the prosperity of the country. And also what I liked is when you said it's not the job of one particular body, whether it's government or a few companies, but everybody's role. And this social responsibility is a very strong value to practice and to share. So thank you very much, Ralph. And now I'll turn to Ron and ask you the same question. What is the promise to yourself, the promise to your professional activities and the entrepreneurship world that you're growing everywhere on this planet?
Thank you very much. For me personally, my own promise to myself,
Yes.
I helped start a consulting company about 10 years ago. And the motto I created is very much how I live my professional life. And that is focus on problems that truly matter. So I would rather help cure cancer than than invest in an app to find a bar after work. And I try to avoid Me Too companies that aren't really adding much to the store of knowledge or value. Some examples of companies I really like, not that I've invested in them all yet, but companies I really like. One is Cyclica, a Canadian company that is doing cancer and drug research in silico, entirely simulated, to predict drug interactions that might kill patients before the drug is ever formulated. They're doing remarkably well, and their mission is to help save lives via chemical simulation. A second company is here in Yerevan. I'm not an investor, but I'm absolutely a supporter of the company, and that is Silex. It's hybrid Armenian, Swiss, and American company that's focusing on building national health records for a whole population, and then using advanced analytics to explore what that means, everything from population genetics to the spread of diseases like COVID. That's the kind of bold thinking that's going to really solve big problems. And they're busy working with a number of countries on national level electronic health systems. Another company is in SmartGate's portfolio that I really like, and that's Super Annotate. One of the big problems in artificial intelligence is to build models. And the way you have enough data is by having human beings label that data. This is a car, this is a tree, this is an elephant. Well, Super Annotate does the hard work of tagging those documents automatically using some pretty innovative, they're not alone here, but they're very, very innovative. And again, that's solving a problem that matters. For companies, my personal brand promise is to be an exemplar of what investing used to be, particularly for angels, and that is mentorship and stewardship. What we used to call angel investing was mentor capital, where our work starts when we've written the check. That's when our work starts. We're not deal guys doing deals. We are actually helping build companies. So be honest, be value added, be a coach, not a cheerleader, and help in any way possible. So when I start meeting with companies, the number one thing I promise is I will be ruthlessly honest with you. I'm not going to say, oh, that's great, keep doing it. I'm going to give you my honest view, and then I'm going to help you fix stuff if I can. I'm going to be a good mentor without being a micromanager. So what I've done for the companies I've worked with in the past 20 years, open doors with customers and partners. Take operating roles. I can't even tell you how many times I've been the fill-in VP of marketing. I've restructured boards. Of course, I've helped fundraise. And in one of those companies that I like a lot, that had a great exit, Composite Software, I was acting VP of marketing. I helped recruit 2 major industrial partners that help with exits. I helped with the exit. I coached the CEO in areas he was not familiar with. But basically, my brand promise is I'll do anything. If I agree to invest, or advise you, I will do anything humanly possible to make you successful, but I will also stop once you say you're going too far. And that's what mentoring is really all about. So for me, it's mentor capital, and it's, as Ralph said, it's stewardship, because you want the company to preserve itself, preserve its values for future generations. Particularly if it exits via an M&A or an IPO, you want those values to persist, and you want the company's culture to remain strong and persistent, because that's what binds people together. That's why they get up in the morning, is being agreed on a mission, a frame of action, a set of cultural values. So I am these days an investor and board member, and what I like to bring to the party is the experience I've had with dozens of other companies, and using my own network to help. And for those of you who are selecting advisors and board members, those are the things you should be looking for. Can this person help you get to the next stage? What's this person's network like? And you should have no hesitation to do your own diligence on people you bring on board as investors or advisors. Do they talk the talk and walk the walk, or they just want to get into your deal and give you some money? So anyway, stewardship, mentorship, honesty, that's my brand promise.
That's a very powerful advice. And also I liked your opening, which said, focus on problems that matter, and choose your board carefully, and that your work starts when you sign the check. So this is all maybe unexpected in some aspects, but so insightful on what we really should strive for. Thanks, Ron. So now I turn to you, Marilou, and with the same question: what is the promise to yourself and to TUMO?
When we first started TUMO, it was just an idea and a small project. And throughout the years, we realized that the project is becoming reality, and lately I have been giving a lot of importance to, and promising myself and to my company, that to convert this project to an institution, to a real institution. It's in our case, it's not like it was a university or it was a school and you are improving the school, or you are following these footsteps of someone else and just making it better place. But we started from zero, with no vision, no mission, no foundation, no nothing. And when the project started becoming reality, we realized that a real foundation, like an institution, is very important, because we are, Pegor, myself, Sam, we will not be here forever, and we would like to see this continuing and having the very strong foundation of a real institution, which in Armenia we lack the fact that we do not have real institutions which can guide the society and work with the government hand in hand to improve and develop the country. So that's my promise, to do everything that is needed to build the foundation for the institution.
This is very interesting. So starting with a very ambitious project, turning it into an institution, but not to replicate something that is existing, but to innovate a new kind of organization that can take us into the future and beyond our lifespan. And because I know that you and Pegor have an architectural background, it made me think of architects who in medieval ages would build a cathedral I think it took 3 or 4 lives of architects, right? One would start, another would maintain, and the third one would deliver. So it's a commitment that is an incredible.
The most important is the first one, who is starting with the foundation.
Yes, it's
you have to make it so stable so that the others can add to it. It has to be very clear as far as values, commitment, vision, why you're doing it, why you're part of it, all that. We keep thinking about it, and how can you transfer that? You cannot just write it and say this is it, and you're supposed to carry on and continue. You have to find a way that everything is built in the atmosphere, in the spirit, in the things you're doing, and they are transferable somehow, magically. I don't know.
It's bringing a micro world to all these children who come to TUMO, so they have all the elements to be the builders of our future. Which, thank you. So I'm coming now to my third question, and it's one that I'm sure we all are very curious to hear about. And this is your role as a leader and taking us into the future. We would love to hear from each of you. What is your present big idea that is intriguing, that is maybe your obsession today? And how do you bring this into your activities so that you can make your company future ready? Ralph, if you want to take this.
Sure. Very simple. Keep on believing.
Keep on believing?
And keep on walking. Keep on believing and keep on walking the belief, and you will be there. Never ever, for any issue or whatever, for a second give up. You will face challenges, frustrations, disappointments, but keep on believing and keep on walking the belief and shoot for the future in the context of making a better tomorrow and being part of the building of better tomorrow. And if I may, I believe being honest, being sincere, and leading by example will definitely always lead the way to better achievements and better tomorrow. And if you allow me, I like this quote, and I would like to use this quote as a closure. And it's for our famous, prominent Armenian-American or American-Armenian writer, William Saroyan, in the time of your life, when he says, in the time of your life, seek goodness everywhere and let it be free and unashamed. Ignore the obvious, for it is unworthy of the clear eye and the kindly heart. That's it. I can summarize by those words.
If I may, this last year, this year has been incredibly challenging for all of us with the COVID crisis worldwide, and has highlighted very much our sort of double presence in a physical world, but also in a digital world. And Viva-MTS has been an amazing enabler for everybody suddenly entering this, rushed into this development of our digital presence. Has this given you a particular insight on how to even further develop our future presence in the digital world for all individuals to sort of prosper?
I would say, it has been a great learning. We were kind of prepared in our processes for such a situation, but not to the extent we have expected. Okay, we've learned a lot, we've improved a lot, we've modified a lot. It was a real test for the concept of flexibility, and we understood that being present physically has a value, and it's
Yes.
related and directly linked to the human values, which are part of our core values. But circumstances sometimes force you to be away and as well.
Virtually.
And which mix that we should always be after. Mixing everything for the best, for the good, and for better results for humanity. If I speak globally, for the sector, if I speak narrowly,
Uh-huh.
for the business precisely, and of course for the shareholders to keep the smile on their face and for us to be able to continue to maneuver operationally, business-wise, and in the community social-wise.
Thank you, Ralph.
You're most welcome.
Ron, what would be your take on what is your present, let's say, attention focused on in terms of making us ready for the future, preparing?
I'll mention one important thing. And here I'm speaking as a director of the Angel Capital Association, which is the largest group of angels worldwide. Historically, we had focused on individual angels and on angel groups. Increasingly, though, many of us believe that the magic of innovation and growth is startup hubs in the variety of startup hubs worldwide, which is very, very different. The Silicon Valley model is not good for everybody. So it's helping nurture local startup communities. That's why I visit places like Chile and Georgia and love to come back to Armenia to learn about the experiments going on and to begin to establish some practices, share the wealth there, and help develop their own startup entrepreneurial cultures and hubs, some with government support, some with foundation support, some with venture capital support. But there's a variety of models. And that, for me, is the future where we're going as an organization and where I am spending my time. And what really makes me passionate is helping local communities figure out their best path to innovation and entrepreneurship. And one size doesn't fit all.
Oh, that's very interesting, because while we see how the sharing of strong guiding and common values is bringing us together, you're also saying we shouldn't forget to be also as rich as we can in models of thinking and working and creating, and being aware of keeping that diversity growing and reaching all the time. So this is also a very good insight. Marilou, what is your present focus in terms of making us ready to embrace the future?
We're obsessed about education, of course, and we've been coming up with this idea, and I think it started from the day you visited us with you remember you came to Armenia and we showed you with Simmer Peppert, we showed you the space, and it was not even built. I remember Simmer saying something that struck me from that day on, that every kid is born to learn. There is no kid that does not love to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And lately we came up with this idea and concept that we called walk away. What if and you cannot stop them from leaving. What are you supposed to do so that they would want to stay and they would want to learn? And knowing that they love to learn, to offer them that experience. It's not about expensive schools, giving them toys, making it fun, creating, saying, oh, you don't want very serious stuff. Let's make it as a game or as a fun thing. In the contrary, kids don't like that attitude from us. They expect us to be serious, and they expect us to offer them something that challenge them.
Yes.
And Seymour said something else also. He said once, kids don't like to play video games because they're fun. They like to play video games because they're challenging.
They're hard, yes.
And all this really is shaping our vision of how education should be. Is it the regular school system imposed, no choices, or is it total freedom where the content is the most important, the respect and attitude toward the students, and the choices we give them for learning and developing their skills? And this is the most important, and how to use technology in all this concept.
Yes.
And how technology is helping develop these ideas.
For the audience, Seymour Papert was a pioneer in bringing technology in education and encouraging children to be their own architect of the learning path, so that they wouldn't be limited by outside criteria such as age category or the social let's say group they were coming from, whether they were poor or rich, so that it would be really empowering the youth to learn how to learn, and continuously, so that they will be in charge of shaping their own needs and life and find their own answers. So this is what has been guiding also Marie-Lou, and I can summarize it like this, right, Marie-Lou, because we've worked with each other for a while. So this is indeed a very strong way of being prepared to embrace the future and actually create the future, right? Alan Kay said the best way of knowing what the future holds is to invent it. So you're actually helping all these kids invent the future. So this is a very very interesting conversation that I hope has sparked a lot of interest from the audience. And I would like to turn to our audience and see what are the questions that are coming up. So first question that I have is, what is mentorship for you? Did you have mentors on your way to becoming a successful CEO? Please, let's see who would like to take this question. What is mentorship to you? And did you have somebody lead you to your position? Okay.
I can start. With respect to mentorship, I never had a mentor per se, but life, personal life and career life was the greatest mentor of all. I mean, I've learned a lot through going from one station to another station, if I could say. However, mentorship is important. It's about passing the know-how, passing the experience, and avoid making bottles and putting everything in a bottle and closing the bottle, or creating a bottleneck out of things. The purpose of mentorship is to teach and to prepare the next generations. Those who will take the torch or take the flag and continue the mission, or continue the vision, or continue implementing and developing the set of values that you, as a CEO or as a company, believe in. And of course, if what you're doing is really proving it's successful, so it's a must that you pass on the know-how, the knowledge, the experience, to encourage, motivate at the same time, and to give a path or way for people to experience and to grow on the way. That's in short what this means to me.
Yes, Ron?
For me, mentoring is very simply having someone who works with you, who is more experienced than you are, help you realize your vision. And two people who helped me with that, first were my father. When my father died, many people came to his funeral, many of whom said that Art Weissman had mentored me. And that was meaningful to them. And my other mentor was Steve Jobs. And with Steve, it was tough love, being ruthlessly honest. And as I said before, being a coach, not a cheerleader.
That's interesting. Coach, but not cheerleader. Yeah. It's hard sometimes to focus on what doesn't work and learn from that, rather than just cruise smoothly through the things that we're already good at.
In Silicon Valley, we have the saying that if you've never had a failure, you're probably not really ready to be a world-class CEO. Because good times, when things are good, everything's, but you've never been tested before. You've never been tested by fire. And having a failure in your life teaches you as much as your success.
Right, Marilou?
Something I realized is sometimes you are mentoring without realizing you're mentoring. And it's interesting that your surrounding, your staff is watching you, learning from you without you realizing you're doing that. And you're surprised, but it's a nice surprise. And of course, sometimes you get also criticism or comments, but that helps you become stronger. I too didn't have a mentor per se, but our relationship with my husband has been mentoring each other all along. And it has been I think, very helpful in our careers to have each other and to learn from each other.
Okay, thank you, Marilou. Let me look at the next questions. Maybe for sake of time, we'll take another couple of questions, if that's okay with you, because we just went a few minutes over 1 hour. Is that all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So another question is, what are some of the common behavioral red flags that you notice, especially within international network of CEOs, if any? What would you recommend to improve to be more, let's of Hello?
Okay, we can hear you, but I don't know if the others heard you.
You want me? do you want me to repeat the question?
I'll jump in. I'll jump in. Two
Okay, go
things,
ahead. Yes.
particularly for international CEOs. One is to be more relaxed. Many times I've seen CEOs from abroad. I've talked about humility, but being almost too humble, not putting themselves forward enough in a nice way. But more importantly, if there's one red flag for me, it is not understanding your own competitive landscape. That the only competitors you have are companies in your region, or that you are unique and having no. I've never met a company that had no competition. Well, actually, I did one, and that was a company that could predict earthquakes about 10 seconds before they would occur, allowing you to shut down a bridge or close an elevator before disaster hit. That's the only company I've ever met in the 20,000 I've looked at that was unique. So be aware of the competitive landscape, be honest about it, and measure yourself. And I find this is the single biggest failing of CEOs that I meet who are not from the UK or from North America.
Very good advice. So the question I repeat, Marilou, since we got cut off, was what are the common behavioral red flag reactions and behaviors of CEOs on international scale? So either of you want to take on and continue elaborating on what Ron already said?
About what would you recommend to improve to be more charming in the eyes of investors?
I think charming has a different meaning in Armenian. That's why I didn't use the word. So what are the basically red flag behavioral attitudes from CEOs that you would like to sort of advise and
I think
correct?
to be really transparent and sincere, because if at any point you lose their trust, you lose everything. And even when
Yes,
you're in trouble, just telling them you're in trouble, or you did a mistake, just telling them, or you miscalculated something. To be sincere is the most important thing, instead of trying to hide something or pretend that you didn't do it wrong or it didn't happen, because no matter what, they will eventually find out. And it's very important that you don't lose the trust.
We have a saying in my group that there's no penalty for bad news. There's a big penalty for hiding bad news.
Oh, that's excellent. Yes. Ralph, would you like to add on this?
Yeah, well, actually, they've said it all, but I would add being a CEO, you should be closer to your people.
Mm-hmm.
You should listen to them, not only hear them. You should feel them and feel with them, and you should be always next to them. And you need to remember that they are not a tool for your objectives, that you are part of a team where they and you are one as a team after one goal. And what's very important, as an operational CEO, I would say that don't reprimand in public, don't say things in public, but say it in private. However, always ensure to comment or to compliment in public, to keep the team motivated, for them to see, to follow you together as a team after the mission or the vision or the purpose that you are there to do and implement.
Very good. So questions are coming up. I'm going to take them in just a chronological order. What is collaboration for you? How do you imagine a global development?
For me,
Okay, Ron?
has to be a win-win. It is not a press release, but it is doing something, usually starting small, that has results for both parties. And that's why, I prefer to fix the air conditioner rather than solve global warming with partnerships. They can expand over time, but both partners are busy. They have many things they're working on. They've got customers and partners and products to worry about. And this partnership is not the most important thing. So do some things that give you some early wins and then expand. Be pragmatic and then realistic about what the partnership can ultimately achieve. But it's got to be a win-win, or one side will lose interest.
All right.
I can add, how do you imagine global development or collaboration? We all experienced during these days using video conferencing, using Zoom, using and really it helped us understand that things don't have to continue the way they were. You can move much faster using technology. You can share ideas. You can talk to each other face to face, even if we're not next to each other, and understand the needs of each other. So sharing what we have through technology, I think, is going to happen really very nicely, especially in education. I'm talking about education, and I'm hoping that in other sectors it will happen too. But having something special and making it available to others through technology and sharing it is something very powerful.
Thank you. So, Raf, do you have something to add, or should we go to the next question?
Yeah, let's move to the other question.
Okay. Actually, I had skipped a question, which was, what were some of the challenges that each of you faced that you can remember being particularly difficult, and how did you overcome them? All right, Raf?
Well, when building the team, or when building the company, it was very challenging, because a person, or I needed actually to bring together a team of people of different backgrounds, different education, different tastes, different philosophies, different visions towards life, and it was quite challenging, and as if I had to speak so many languages. But at the core, the main language was to flock together towards making our brand something unrepeatable in Armenia. And that was quite challenging. It lasted for a while, but eventually persevering and believing. And like I've said earlier, keep on believing and keep on walking the belief. It made it a reality, and the team now is solidly bonded together and guided by our core values.
All right. Ron or Marilou, would you like to expand, or should we go to the next question?
I've had a number of challenges in the company I've worked with as an executive, and they've always had a common solution. Normally, you're short of resources, your customers start bailing on you, you're uncertain about your value proposition, or even how you're structured. And in every one of those cases, listening and embracing customers has always been the thing I naturally gravitated towards. At Next, we could not sell our hardware for anything until we started listening to a few customers who said, "You've mispositioned this entirely. You're not what you think you are. Let us tell you what you are, and we'll guarantee buying more." This has been true of almost every startup I've worked closely with. When there's a crisis, it is usually resolved by bear hugging and embracing your customers and letting them guide you, letting them help fund you, letting them teach you, So there's, for me, no substitute, particularly right now in the COVID crisis, of getting extremely close to customers. And we're working with Steve Jobs, who was in many ways a great CEO, but back then was not humble, charismatic, and that made him rigid. Ultimately, we forced Steve to listen to customers. I hired a TV crew to film some focus groups around the country about what our customers really thought about us. And that convinced Steve to change and to actually embrace a new plan. So the power of customers cannot be overstated.
Wonderful. Milo, what was your biggest challenge and how did you overcome
In
it?
my case, there isn't a big challenge. There is a challenge every day in Armenia.
Yeah.
Every day. I lived in the US and I lived in Spain. And if I compare my life, it was really simple, very, I don't know, maybe boring even. Not boring. I mean, nothing happening that is challenging. And in Armenia, it's exactly the opposite. Every day you hit a new challenge, and every day you think it's the biggest challenge, and then the next day it's even more a bigger challenge. But I think that's the beauty of living here. You're always on your toes. You're always ready. You're always
You have to be creative.
Patient, and
Yeah.
and you get stronger and stronger.
Very good. So one last question. Some compromise results and mission for a personal brand, especially in politics. If you faced similar in your career among your partners and colleagues, how did you manage the situation? Okay, Ralph?
Simply don't do politics. don't ruin whatever you've achieved or what you have built over the years by just doing politics. Just forget about politics.
I would totally agree with that. But also, there have been a couple of times when my values were different than the company's. And it was usually less about politics than about behavior, ethical behavior. When I simply quit, I've gotten off of 2 boards where the company was doing things I fundamentally thought were wrong, sometimes political, sometimes ethical. And stand up for your values and don't be afraid to walk away.
Mailu?
We stayed out of politics all the time, and things happen. Governments come and go, and you're here, and you have a vision and a mission to accomplish, and no matter what happens, your values are still the same, and you're continuing. So we have had that all along for the past 12, 15 years. Never deviating, always being, always following the same values that we had, no matter what. Doesn't matter what's happening, our mission stays the same.
It's interesting. All 3 of you have a pretty unanimous answer, but it also is very much in alignment with your values, which is that you serve a cause and you serve a mission and not an individual. And I think that what keeps everything authentic, honest, moving forward and inspiring. So this is a wonderful question and answer to bring a closure to this very interesting panel. And I want to thank the 3 heroes of today, and also the audience for this wonderful set of questions, and bringing us in such a positive place to embrace the future, especially in these very uncertain times that can be very much anxiety times as well, but this is a very good way of sort of forging the path ahead in the most positive and productive way. So again, thank you to all of you, to the audience, and also I want to thank Ashot Arzumanyan and Liana Karapetian from House of the Hero House for organizing this very interesting series of lectures. And I hope they continue bringing these really hot topics to continue learning from each other, all of us, and moving into the future. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.